All right, we have a test to finish tonight, insha'Allah ta'ala. So we're going to start with question 31 today. And question number 31 is, give an example of buying something as an investment. Give an example of buying something as an investment. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. A house? Okay, give me something a little more clear than that. Give me something a little more clear to express why. What's the point of saying that it's an investment? Okay, I'll repeat the question. The question is, give an example of buying something as an investment. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. An example of buying something as an investment is like purchasing a donkey that you cannot ride now, but you'll be able to ride it later. So all the things that you all said, it's correct, but it doesn't really doesn't show me that you understand what the question means. A car, yes. A house, yes. So had you said, for example, a house that you can't live in yet, a house that's not yet livable, a car that's not running right now, for example, but you can repair it, then I would have accepted that. So you can buy something that is useful later, not useful now. That's what's meant by buying something as an investment. And the example that we gave in our lessons was a donkey that you cannot yet ride, but you'll be able to ride it later or carry loads on it. All right. Question number 32. Give an example of selling what does not exist. Give an example of selling what does not exist. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. He said, do you mean a valid or an invalid sale? Is it valid to sell something that doesn't exist in the first place? You said selling the crop before harvest. Selling the crop before harvest? No. Can the crop exist before you harvest it? You said a house that is not built yet. Correct. Selling a house that has not yet been built. Like if someone shows you the blueprints and he says, this is how it will be. This is the plan. I'll sell it to you for such and such. So that's not valid. And you said that's common, that's true, and there's something even more common than that, which is, anyone know? What's something, buying something that doesn't exist is even more common than the case of a house. One of you might have done so this week, perhaps. That's right, meals. Buying food from the restaurant, which means you go to the store, you go to the restaurant, for example, you tell them, I want this, this, and this. They say, okay, that'll take about 20 minutes. The price is such and such. And then you pull out your money, you pay them, you take your change, and you go back and sit in the car, for example. Or you say, I'll be back. Or you pay for it by debit before you even go to the store, before they even make the meal. In all these cases, you purchase something that doesn't exist. So I have a question. It's not one of our test questions, but why did I mention going and getting back in the car? For you to go to the restaurant, pay for the meal, and then get back in the car and wait for it to be done. What's wrong with that? You left the session. That's correct. Correct. So remember, once you leave the session, the deal is finalized. The sale, that is. The sale is finalized by leaving the session. So you cannot go to the counter, order your food, pay for the food, and then leave the store altogether. You need to stay there in such a way that it's counted as being in the same session. Like you just sit down at the table and wait for your food to be done, and you're still there. Now you're still in the same session. So if you want to pay him and then have a seat in the establishment in such a way that you're still in the same session, that's fine, because the sale isn't done yet. But once you pay them and then you leave and you're considered not in the session anymore, then the sale is done. So you have effectively paid for something that does not exist. Okay, barakallahu fikum. That's good. You said, so staying in the store is valid for the sale? Yes, because you haven't parted ways yet. Yani, but I did qualify my statement. I said in such a way that it's counted that you haven't left the session. So if you want, just stand right there at the counter. If it works, have a seat and wait, as long as you're still in the same session. You said, what about the call of ordering from home? Pay for it when they bring it to you. Don't pay for it over the phone, so that you don't pay for something that doesn't exist. Tell them, I'll pay for it when you come. If they say, no, you need to pay for it now, tell them, okay, I'll do business with someone else. MashaAllah. Let's go to the next question. Question 33. You're welcome. Give an example of selling an undetermined item. Give an example of selling an undetermined item. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. You said to say, I sell you one of these 3 shirts. Correct. Selling one of the 2 dresses. Correct. So someone says to you, I sell you one of these 3 shirts. I sell you one of these 2 dresses. You cannot say, I accept. One person recently didn't understand the case. So help a person understand. Okay. Question number 34. Give an example of selling the unknown. Give an example of selling the unknown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. You said selling what is in the box. You said, whatever I have in the box, I sell you. For example, okay, correct. To sell a horse in the barn that one has not seen. No, not exactly. Because you know it's a horse. So when we talk about selling the unknown, that means you don't even know what it is. So if someone says, I sell you what's in my pocket, and you have no idea what it is. Or, for example, that show Storage Wars. So they do open up the door so you can look in, but you only get a chance to see what's apparent. And then there's many things in boxes. There's many things behind other things. You said a surprise gift basket. Yes, well, what's even stranger than that is to sell a gift. So what is that supposed to be, a gift? You buy it to give it as a gift for someone else? Is that what makes it a gift basket? Okay. But you buy it without knowing what's in it, then that would be invalid. Correct. So those are three things not to get them mixed up. The non-existent, the undetermined, and the unknown. You cannot sell what does not exist. You cannot sell what is not determined or specified. And you cannot sell what is unknown altogether. Selling a specific horse that one hasn't seen, so that's different. That's selling an unseen item. That's different from selling an unknown item, or an undetermined item, or a non-existent matter. Okay, mashallah, not bad, not bad. Number 35. What are the two things for which you can rent or hire? What are the two things for which you can rent or hire? That should be easy. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. You said for the benefit or the usage. No, not exactly. 4, 3, 2. Repeat the question? Okay. What are the two things for which you can rent or hire? What are the two things for which you can rent or hire? You said for time or for task. That's correct. Correct answer. Correct answer. Brother Abid, he came in, he saved the day. This is like a volleyball game. So somebody's diving and just catching the ball before it hits the ground, trying to keep it in the air. Me against all of you. I'm on one side of the net, you're all on the other side. MashaAllah. You said, how do you rent for a task? Oh, how can you rent for a task? By renting a man, for example. Because renting and hiring is the same. Renting and hiring is the same. So you can rent a man, you can hire a car. You can hire a house. There are also some other words like lease. It seems lease pretty much means rent. So you can rent for time, rent or hire for time, or rent or hire for the task. You said the task can also mean the service. Yes. The task can mean the service. Yes. Like you say, I hire you to fix my plumbing. That's the service or the task. I hire you to paint this wall. Or I hire you for 5 hours, for example. I hire you for 40 hours this week, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. That's valid. Okay. Good. Now remember that some things you can only do it one of the two ways. Like a house, you cannot rent a house for the task. So it has to be specifically for the time. But a person you can rent or hire for the time or the task. You said, what if one completes the task before the 40 hours? Okay, so to answer your question, let me ask you, which way was he hired? For his time or for the task? He was hired for the time. Then he didn't finish before 40 hours because he wasn't hired for the task in the first place. He was hired for the time. If he finished the task before the 40 hours, he wasn't hired for the task. So he still has time left. So he goes to his boss and say, hey, boss, that job you asked me to do, I finished it and I'm still on the clock. Because he hired for the time. What do you want me to do now? Want me to go rake some leaves? Take out the trash? All right, especially if you're a boss. That really matters. If you hired him for his time, and then he finished the task you gave him, then you want him to come back to you, right, and say, hey, what's next? Because you're paying for the time. So, you said, can the deal be changed afterwards? No. Renting and hiring is binding from both sides. Once you agreed, then you have to fulfill the deal. Once both parties agreed, then you have to fulfill the deal. What you agreed to. The way to get out of it is to pardon each other. Remember, when it comes to renting and hiring, you can't quit. And you can't fire. You can't evict. And you can't, what do you call it when somebody just abandons the house before the lease is over? I don't know what that's called, if that has a name. You can't just leave the house and say, I don't want to pay for this anymore. You have to fulfill the agreement. Is that clear? Go AWOL, is that what they call, though, for renting? I know that's for the military. Absent without leave, that's for the military, for example. I don't know if that's what you say for a tenant. The tenant he doesn't even have to stay in the house. The tenant doesn't have to stay in the house. He just has to pay the bill. He has to pay his rent. No, not a squatter. The squatter is the person who's staying there illegally without paying or anything. He just took somebody's place. We're talking about the one who leaves the place. If you have a house, if you're a landlord, and you made an agreement with someone for 6 months, let's say, can you just, after 3 months, because you don't like him or because somebody gave you a better deal, can you say to him, you know what? I'm evicting you. Pack up and get out. No, you cannot do that. Or can he say to you, I don't want to live here anymore, but there's still 3 months left to the lease? No, he cannot. So renting and hiring is final. You have to complete the deal. Likewise, you hire someone, you can't fire him. It's the same thing. It's the same contract. You hire someone, you cannot fire him. Someone hired you, you cannot quit. What you do is you complete the deal. Any question? Question 36 is the bonus question. Bonus question means that we ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to increase the reward of who answers this question properly and to give him the good that he asks for. If it were me, I would get my dua ready and then answer the question and then make dua. Maybe it will be answered. Or maybe Allah will answer it later. Who knows? The question is, there are 3 cases of receiving a purchase. I want all of them in one answer. In order to win the bonus question, you have to answer it in one answer. There are 3 cases of receiving a purchase. There are 3 cases of receiving a purchase. What are they? 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. He said, can I pose the question in a different way? How do you receive your merchandise? You need to give me 3 different cases. 3 different cases, not 3 examples of the same case. 3 different cases. How do you receive your merchandise? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. He said, get a key, move to your place the stuff, or put it somewhere for you. No, that's not enough. 5, 4. I hope someone's keeping score. 3. He said, by taking it, by leaving the session, by leaving the premise. No. That's not. Leaving the session is not receiving your merchandise. You said, taking it by hand like a book, moving in and getting the key, and having someone take it for you. You got 2 out of 3. That helps you out a little bit. You got to give me 1 more. 5, 4. You said taking it by hand, or moving the car, or getting the key with emptied house. Correct. That's the correct answer. 3 ways of receiving a purchase, because either what you purchased is something that you can take by your hand, like a book, so you take it in your hand, that's counted as receiving it. Or it's something that you cannot take it by your hand, but you can relocate it. So then receiving it is by moving it out of the property of the seller. By moving it out of the property of the seller, like you bought a car, you drive it out of the lot, park it around the corner, for example. You bought a refrigerator, you cart it out of the store, out of the parking lot, for example, off of the premises. Now it's considered that you received it. So either it's something that you can take by your hand, then you or your agent need to take it by hand. That's 1. Or it's something that can be transported. Then you or your agent need to move it from the property of the seller. That's 2. Or it's something that can neither be taken by the hand, nor can it be relocated, such as a house, or a ship, or a piece of land. Then receiving it is by the original owner, the seller, emptying his stuff out, removing all of his property, submitting the keys to you, and giving you unrestricted access, you or your agent. That's 3. So you all have that? Is that clear? So we ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to increase the reward of who answered that properly, and to give him the good that he asks for. Ameen. Question number 37. What are you obligated to do for a poor Muslim who urgently needs clothing to cover his nakedness? What are you obligated to do for a poor Muslim who urgently needs clothing to cover his nakedness. 15, 14. You said charity or give him a loan. 13, 12. You're missing something. 11, 10, 9, 8. Giving what is enough for that person, that's not sufficient. 7, 6, 5, 4. Give him for free or lend him the stuff to pay later. Or, so your answer is missing still. You said give him sufficient clothing to cover his nakedness by charity, gift, or loan. You're missing something. 3, 2, 1. Go ahead.
Sell it to him for credit?
Yes, sell it to him by credit, like Brother Abed said right there. Correct. So if you have a poor Muslim who urgently needs to cover his nakedness, you're obligated to give him some clothing. If you don't want to give him some clothing as a charity, or loan it to him and then take it back later, or sell it to him for credit or by credit, sell it to him by credit, he can pay you back later. But you can't just leave him with his aura exposed. Any question about that? MashaAllah, it seems these last few questions are a little tough for you all tonight. In a way that kind of makes me happy. Of course, I want you all to answer the questions, but I'm known for my tricky questions. So you all are answering my questions usually pretty well. And you're making me lose confidence in my own ability to come up with tricky questions. So anyway, at least I'm giving you a challenge. Alhamdulillah. Question 38. What do you do when a rental or a hire is invalid? What do you do when a rental or a hire is invalid? 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. He said, return what was taken. No. That's if the sale was invalid. If the sale was invalid, then all exchanged items need to be returned. But what if the rental was invalid or the hire was invalid, which means someone hired you and you did some work and then it became clear that the contract was invalid. So what needs to be done? Are you just khalas, you just go home with your head down or what?
No, don't you have to pay a rate?
What is the rate? Give him what is usually given for such work. Correct. What one usually gets paid if the deal would have been valid? No, that's not right. So even the one I just said is correct. There's a word I'm looking for. The market value. Correct. If the rental or the hire is invalid, then you have to pay the person you have to pay the person the market value of whatever benefit you got. not what you agreed to, the market value. So if you rented a house and it was invalid, then how much do you owe? You owe what such a house would be rented for such a time according to the market value, not according to the agreement. You did some work for someone, you were hired to work for someone, and then it became clear that the contract was invalid. Do you deserve anything? You deserve what a job like you did is paid at market price, not according to the agreement. Question 39. What type of defect allows you to cancel the sale? What type of defect allows you to cancel the sale? What type of defect allows you to cancel the sale? 10. You said a hidden defect that was not mentioned or obvious. No. You said what was unseen. No. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Yes, go ahead.
The one that's like present, like you have to be present to return it. Right or no?
No. Basically, the meaning of the question is, what is the defect? What is the defect? What type of defect allows you to cancel the sale? What is the defect that allows you to cancel the sale? 10.
Like a defect in value or like quantity. Like if they cheat you and they say it's going to be this much, but it's really this much.
Okay, defect in the value. So it's not worth as much as it's supposed to be. A defect in the, what did you say?
Quantity.
In the quantity. So it's missing some. There's still one more. The benefit or the usage of it. It doesn't work right. You can't use it as it's supposed to be. So the defect that allows you to cancel the sale is a decreased value, missing quantity, and the inability to use it properly. Okay. MashaAllah, the ball's been saved many times tonight. Looks like I've been playing a good game of volleyball. Got you guys on the ropes and sweating, MashaAllah. We have one more question, and it is also a bonus question since it's the last question for the night. Last question of our test. Question 40. What are the two types of rental or hiring? What are the two types of rental or hiring? 15. You need to tell me them both in one answer. 14. 13. Not by time or tasks. No, we already talked about that. This is different now. Valid or invalid? No. 12. 11. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. You said longer? You need more time? SubhanAllah. You know something? I'll tell you. When I went to study overseas, the teachers, they used to be so generous to the students. Like they would let the students like, like how I'm doing you guys now. And I used to say to myself as I was in the chair, I wouldn't be so easy on these guys. Why are they being so easy on these guys? It got to be tougher. But once I got in that position, then it wasn't so easy to be so tough against the Muslims, mashallah. So, all right, here comes the last number. Two types of renting or hiring is to rent or hire the thing itself, or to hire someone to get the task done. Not to hire him himself, but to hire him to get the task done. Renting or hiring a thing itself, or renting or hiring one to get a task done. There's a difference. The difference shows up in the case of death or destruction of the item. So if you rent or hire a thing itself and then it dies or is ruined, then your contract is done. So you rented a house, a particular house, and then the house crumbled or collapsed. That's it, khalas, your contract is done. And then you pay a commensurate rate. Commensurate here means in accordance with your agreement, not in accordance with the market price. You just add up how much is owed, you calculate how much is owed, and you pay that. Because you hired or rented the thing itself. But when you hire or rent someone to get a task done, and then he dies, then the contract is not voided. His heir will take on the task. We talked about that. Yes, question.
Is that like if he dies doing the work that you hired him for, or if he just dies?
Just dies. No, he just dies.
Okay.
So, for example, you hire someone. You say, "Listen, I want you to get this house built. I want the house built. I don't care if you do it or if someone else does it. It's your responsibility to get it done. Not it's your responsibility to do it. Personally, it's your responsibility to get it done. Whether you do it yourself or you get it done by someone else." You said, what does the heir have to do with this agreement? He completes it. He has to, because being a rental or a hiring, it's temporary. It has to be completed. Since it's a deal not done for the one himself to do it himself, but rather what you paid for was really to have something done. Not that you just hired him. It's not that you're saying, I hire you to do this. Rather, you're saying, the task I want done is this house. You see these plans? Can you get this done? You're able to do that? Oh yeah, I can get that done. I got all kinds of connections. All right. So I'm hiring you to get it done, not to do it, to get it done. So in this case, if he dies, his heir will complete the agreement. You said, but say the heir don't have those connections. But before we say the heir doesn't have those connections, let's first just understand the rule. Most important here first is to understand the rule. So the example we learned was, or the example that we in our lessons have gone over, is a person was hired, not himself, but for tending to palm trees and grapevines. Palm trees and grapevines. So the deal is, you make sure that these palm trees and grapevines get tended to. I don't care who does it. You just make sure it gets done. And then at the harvest, you take such and such percentage of the yield. So now let's say that this guy that was hired to get it done, he died. So by this type of contract, what happens? It doesn't stop. So it just goes to his heir. Now his heir completes the deal. And who gets the fruits? Who gets the fruits at the end? The dead person?
The heir.
The heir will get the fruits. Yeah. So that's the original way it goes. Now, what if? I don't have the answers for those. You said, so the heir just needs to get it done. Exactly. Yes. No, the heir doesn't have to do it himself. No. It's not that type of deal. The heir can do it himself, or he can get it done by some way. He just has to get it done. If the animal died while doing the task, so did you hire the animal itself? Did you rent the animal itself, or did you want the task done? Did you pay for the task to be completed, or did you pay for the animal itself? If you paid for the animal itself and then the animal died, then the deal is done. Contract is over. On the other hand, if you paid for the task to be completed, then if the animal dies, then the deal is not finished yet. So you just need to bring a new animal or something. Okay, now if that's a little bit tough for you to understand at the moment, that might only be for the lack of doing it. But when you find yourself in need of such a thing, it will become crystal clear. When you find yourself in a position where you're saying, you know what, that work, I need to get that work done. I don't even care if he does it or she does it. It just needs to be done. I know someone who can get it done for me. So you call the guy and say, listen, I have such and such work that needs to be done. I need the work done. Can you get the work done? Let's say he says, yes, I can get the work done. So then you say, okay, so I'm hiring you, I'm not hiring you to do the labor. What I really want is a task completed. So in other words, brothers and sisters, when you do this type of hiring, it's like you're paying for a debt. It's like you're paying for a debt. When you hire someone in particular or something in particular, then there's no debt here. If I rented a car, then I rented the car. If I rented the house, then I rented a house. If I rented a person or hired a person, then I hired a person. There's no debt. But if I hire you to get something done, then there's a debt here now. Now you got to get it done. Which means also when we say you got to get it done, that means you might have to spend your own money. Right? There's a difference between me hiring a person to do a job and then I provide him with the tools that he needs, and me hiring a guy to get the job done, and then he does whatever it is he has to do. So then he, being the one who wants to get paid for this job, so what is he going to do? He's going to say, you need that done? All right. So in order for that to be done, for me to get that done for you, I'm going to have to hire some guys. I'm going to have to get some equipment. I'm going to have to do this, and this. That's going to cost you such and such. I can get it done for you. It'll cost this much. Say, okay. You said when hiring to get the task done, you must pay in advance, right? Correct. You must pay in advance. That's correct. Meaning in advance means upfront. At the time of the contract. And that type you have to pay at the time of the contract. You cannot pay later, because if you pay later, then it will be selling a debt for a debt. He owes you and you owe him. That's not valid. So in this case, you have to pay upfront because you're pretty much paying for a debt. In the other case, you don't have to pay up front If you hire the man himself or you hire the thing itself, you don't have to pay up front. You can pay later in accordance with whatever you guys agree on. You said if you hire for the hours, do you pay after the hours? You can. You can say to him, I'll hire you for 10 hours to be paid after you finish. That's valid.
And that's valid if you're hiring the person or have to get done?
That's for hiring the thing itself. If you want to hire for the task to be done, you must pay up front. And there's no alternative.
Okay. All right, now clear.
Because if you don't, then you'll be buying a debt for a debt. And that's invalid. Which is that you'll be saying, I want to hire you to get a job done. So you're not hiring him himself. You're saying, I'm hiring you to get a job done. So now he owes you getting a job done for you. So you can't say, and I'll pay you later for that. So now you owe him too. So it's a debt for a debt. That's invalid. You said, I want to know if one can down on something before you receive it, like layaway. Layaway is invalid. Put a down payment. Okay, that's a good question. Firstly, layaway is invalid. Why layaway is invalid? Because what are you paying for? So I'll tell you what's the answer. Just for them to hold it and not sell it, right? That's what layaway is. Layaway just means, listen, here's money towards this thing. Don't sell it to anyone. When I pay you the rest of it, you give it to me. Isn't that how it goes? Or am I mistaken? Okay, that's invalid. What's valid is you can buy it now for some of the money, and then you take it and it's yours and you can pay them the rest later. Not that you pay them some money and it's not yours yet. You paid for it, but you didn't get it. It's not yours, so that means you didn't buy it. You paid money without buying it. Just for them to hold it only and not sell it. And then later you pay the rest and then it becomes yours. That's not valid. Also, if you don't finish paying, do you get your money back? If you don't finish paying, do you get your money back? You said, I believe in most cases you lose a percentage of your money, at the very least, if not everything that you put up. So here, when it comes to down payment or layaway, this is what you want to avoid. You want to avoid paying for something that does not become yours. That's what you can't do. You can pay for something partially now and then pay the rest later. But religiously, once you buy it, it's yours. You can't buy something and it's not yours. That's not a purchase. So you can purchase it, even if it means paying for the rest of it later, paying in installments. You can even pay for it and leave it there. You can say, listen, I'll buy that from you. That nice leather coat you got there. You guys, you do layaway, but I don't do layaway. This is what I'll do. I'll buy that coat from you for, how much is it? $100? So here, I'll pay $50 for that coat. I'll buy that coat from you for $100. Here's $50. I'll come back with the next $50 later. And I'll leave the coat here. You can do that. But it's your coat. That's what the important part. It's your coat now because you bought it. Even if you didn't take it, and even if you didn't finish paying the rest of the money. All right, I enjoyed myself tonight, brothers and sisters. MashaAllah. Barakallahu fikum. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.